project and you want a large chunk of cash, you can apply for the SU project grant. You have until October 1st, which is going to be this Saturday. So you basically go on our page, and we should have a link to the SU project grant page, and then you just try to tell them like what you want to do with their money, not go spend it on Chipotle, dig in, and actually go and do something cool in regards to like some kind of engineering project. It's a super good opportunity in regards to being able to have something fuzzy, not have to worry about plans of things, which is the opposite of what our club does. And so yeah, so you have until October 1st. And with that, we will go ahead and get the panel started.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff. I'm this year's president of AIAA. I just want to thank everybody for offering your time to speak on this panel. Thank you guys for coming. Thank everybody who's involved with setting this up. It's a really good way to get information out to you guys, and probably fun for our panelists to share some of the experiences that they had. So I think we're just going to go down the line, and everybody say your name, your year, your major, and tell us a little bit about what you did over the summer, and then I guess we'll open it up for questions.
My name is Nico, and I'm a junior mechanical engineering student. For the past 4 months, I was at NASA in Houston, and I was doing mechanical engineering work for structures on the ISS. I was working on the actual space toilet. I was really unsure of what I was going to be doing, but they had me actually making different widgets in regards to optimizing the fluid flow with how things work on the space toilet, which is a lot more complex than you'd actually think. And it's amazing how there's like a group of like 80 people who are actually doing work to optimize how someone sits on the toilet and doing like geometric calculations and really complex fluid dynamics to make it an easy process. So yeah, I was in Johnson Space Center.
I'm Garish. I'm a junior in CC studying computer science with minors at econ and math. And this summer I worked at Palo Alto Networks, which is a network security company. We make firewalls and other security apparatus. And I coded for them, and part of my job also involved business development and general business management, that sort of thing. And I have a background in finance as well. So I worked this summer at the finance office in Chicago. So if you have any questions about that,
Alright, hey guys, my name is Ben. I'm a junior major in computer science, minor in mechanical engineering. This year I worked at IBM up in Fishkill, New York, and what was cool was working on avionics systems and a number of aerospace firms. And what I was doing personally was doing modeling and characterization of devices. So very low abstraction level, working with the actual transistor to try to optimize the system to create a more fluid flow in the avionics.
Hi, I'm Vinay. I'm an computer engineering junior, minor in econ. This summer I was building tools for engineers at SpaceX. I was using some data stuff and CAD stuff and building the tool system for that.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I am studying biological sciences and film studies. I have spent 2 summers working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. My first summer I was working on the photo processing system for the Mars rovers, Curiosity and Opportunity. And then this past summer I was working on a spacecraft proposal for a near-infrared telescope.
Hi everyone, my name's Erin. I'm a junior studying computer science, and I worked at Lockheed Martin for the past 2 summers. I think the Chevy champion. And I worked on the Aegis ballistic missile defense program, and the first summer I did systems engineering work, and then this past summer I did software development.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina. I'm a mechanical engineering senior, and the first summer I was also a jet propulsion lab, and I was working on a proposed new mission to send robotic explorers to Jupiter that will stay afloat in the atmosphere for 2 years. Powered by local harvest energy, and I was doing preliminary aerospace, aerodynamic, and mechanical analysis.
Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Keenan. I'm a mechanical engineering senior. I worked at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab on fluid flow analysis for rocket engines. Also worked at the NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center investigating new type of wing design. And last summer I was at Boeing on the mechanical design team for CST-100 Starliner, which is a manned-rated spacecraft that's going to launch in 2018.
All right, so some excellent introductions by our panelists. So really, this event is for you guys. If you have any questions about what it's like to work in any of these industries, I know we've got a pretty varied range of experiences, so there should be answers for everyone.
For both private companies and like NASA, what is the application process like for the internships?
Alright, guys, I'll start. So, at least this is for the IBM, which is a private company, as I'm sure you know. So it typically starts pretty early on in the semester. Usually the applications start opening up actually right around now, in late September, early October. And then the application process would be, once you actually apply, write your cover letter, submit your resume, typically you'll be contacted, 1 to even 4 weeks later, where usually the first interview is a technical interview, which will then be followed up by a behavioral interview, and then maybe some kind of they had me do this like logic type weird puzzle solving test thing. I guess that's what it was.
Someone from NASA want to hear notes?
So for NASA, the application opens up in in the end of October, and then it's open until like March 1st. So you should apply as early as you possibly can because they kind of accept you on a rolling basis. So I didn't apply until like March 3rd because there was an extension to that deadline, but I would highly recommend applying earlier on. You essentially write like 3 or 4 essays, there's 2 letters of recommendation, and I believe you have like a transcript and that sort of thing, and then you'll be contacted, and there's like 1 interview, and each center can contact you once you have your stuff on their system for like the whole NASA organization as a whole. And we have some flyers in the back for Aussie, which is where you apply for NASA internships. It's a little different for JPL, so maybe you guys want to talk about that.
Sure. I haven't applied to JPL in like a few years. I started working there in high school, and so I think the application process has changed since then, because I've just been like my boss would email me like, hey, you want to come back? I'd be like, okay, and that was the extent of my applications process recently.
Right, so there's multiple ways to get into JPL from what I understand. One of the possibilities is to also apply directly to an internship program. The other way, the way I went through, was actually through Caltech. So Caltech and NASA managed JPL together. It's a weird combination. I think one of them owns it, the other one manages it. Whatever, not important. So the way I did it is about late November, December. The announcements of opportunity are posted on the Caltech website through a program called SURF, which is called something Introduction to Research, Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And usually, so they post announcements from NASA mentors who are open to finding interns, and there's a short description from the project, and NASA and the mentor's email and phone number. So what you do is you directly email or call them and then email them with your resume and your short cover letter describing why you want to do it, also for this experience. And then you hope for responses. And in case you're lucky, you will get a few responses from mentors who would like to interview you, usually over the phone, or if you happen to be in the area, then you can go in person and show up. I was doing mine over the phone because I live in New York. And then, if the mentor accepts you, then there's a process of when you have to submit your transcript and a proposal for what research you will do in the summer to contact the sort of program. But that's basically formality. So as long as a mentor wants to hire you, they will find you a spot and go out.
One last quick note about NASA. They also have another program called the NASA Academies. The due date for that is, I believe, in September, slightly before the March due date. You have to write an essay and do a bit of additional application stuff, but that's another worthwhile opportunity to look into.
What is that?
It's like how's it different? So NASA Academies, they consider it like it's not traditional like one-on-one mentor sort of internship. You're more working in a team of other interns your age, also from grad school, and working on an intensive project for the whole summer. You also get the opportunity to travel to other NASA centers and do the NASA-related opportunities, and it's more of a leadership building experience.
Can you repeat the name?
NASA Academies. So there's like the Space Academy. There used to be the Aeronautics Academy. Now it's called the NASA Marty, M-A-R-T-I. There are a few of them. But Google NASA Academy is probably the first thing that pops up.
All right, if I can add something about private companies though, so like with the project process, there's like big recruiters tend to play or can play a big role in this. So like Boeing comes and visits campus. They were just here, I think, yesterday or today. I don't know about Lockheed Martin, but like IBM is around all the time. SpaceX will be at the October 14th career fair, and they'll be holding like a separate sort of info session for probably these guys at FSAE. So like going and talking to recruiters, getting your name like in front of them, sort of it'll help because they at least talking to the SpaceX team, like they receive thousands of applications, and if they recognize your name, at least they'll like read your resume. So developing that kind of personal connection does.
My experience applying to Lockheed was actually kind of different. So I did first robotics in high school, and nobody else did that. My mentor worked at Lockheed, and then I was just talking about internships, and then he like kind of sent my resume into the pool. And then a recruiter contacted me to have me apply online. You can just directly apply online, but I think it helps because it's like such a big company, and there's like so many different things that you can do to have someone kind of refer you in. So that I worked, and I had an interview freshman year, but it was pretty much all behavioral because at that point I was just like a freshman, had only taken like physics, chemistry, stuff like that. They kind of tailored it based on your skill level. And then I think so the deadlines usually are around like probably the fall. And then like I had an interview in December and then found out in January and then it was like set. But I actually, one of my good friends from home, is like last May, she's a sophomore at Cornell now, and it was like in May, pretty much like her semester was almost over, and she didn't have an internship. She was like, Aaron, I'm freaking out, what do I do? And I emailed my manager, like, hey, do you know if there's any spots available or like any opportunities? And she was like, yeah, just forward me her resume. And she connected her to the hiring manager, and like a week later she had an internship, and she worked there over the summer. So I'm saying that because like sometimes you never know, and it's worth taking a chance. But I think at private places, especially as Vinay was saying, our recruiter is really good to just build those connections early on. And then if you know anyone that works there, kind of like leverage the connections that you have, especially because in a lot of these big places, it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle. So I think getting those personal connections is helpful.
So I'm speaking particularly about GPL, NASA, and SpaceX. Like, to increase your chances of getting accepted, like, what skills should you have? Like, we know, like, we are freshman students. Like, at least I'm a freshman student. I have lots of experience, and like maybe I can learn something before the application period starts. Honestly, yeah.
The main skill I would say for JPL is perseverance. Everyone at JPL is really busy. My experience has been, and that you just need to be, if you are on their radar enough, they will try to find a spot for you. Obviously, what I really like about working at JPL is that they're not coming at it from the perspective of what can you do for us, but more what can we do for you. And so they really try to take the internship as an opportunity to educate you. So even if you don't have, experience in working on spacecraft design, like as long as you show that you have, a passion and maybe an ability to do something like that, you just haven't been given the opportunity. I think that really makes a big case.
And yeah, to add to that, as cheesy as it sounds, I really think that enthusiasm for space is one of the main things they look for in you, because they're very much in the mindset that if you are lacking some skills, you will learn the skills on the spot or through coursework or something like that. Also, there's definitely a difference between expectations for incoming, for example, freshmen or seniors. Like, if you are an upperclassman, you expect them to have more technical background, more knowledge. They may ask them to be with the interview. But if you're an underclassman trying to apply, just like prove to them that you really love space, and they will try to continue for you.
I can present a counter that, like at SpaceX, it's not so much like an enthusiasm or wanting to build it up, it's more wanting to know people. Like you come in and 2 weeks later you're working on projects and they want to see you being able to do that. So a little more concretely, I'd say having what major are you? Or like
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical. So mechanical engineering, what they look for is kind of people who work on project teams. Like FSAE is essentially a feeder for most schools, but I know almost all the mechanical engineers that are working propulsion, working structures on FSAE or composites, they're all FSAE guys essentially. So having that project team experience, actually having experience building things, that kind of stuff is what they look for most, and then excelling at that, it gets you in the door. Because at least at SpaceX, like having the enthusiasm, that's like the last interview, the last step really. Like first they want to know that you're capable of building, but then you can be like thrown into a project and know what you're doing and work well on a team. So I'd say the biggest thing is having experience on project teams.
to that, I know I wasn't really direct, the question wasn't really directed for me, but I think for any internship, like any industry, having extracurricular activities, or like Vinay was saying, FSAE, or even like the Columbia Space Internship, showing through your extracurriculars that you're interested in the field and getting leadership experience in that, I think is valuable.
Did you say FS?
FSAE is like the Society of Automotive Engineers.
The race car club.
Yeah, they build it every year.
Is it the same thing as this?
Knickerbocker Motorsports.
Is it the same thing as the engineering?
No, that's the Society of American Society of Mechanical Engineers. That's more of a networking professional thing, which they don't really do. Like, I have great respect for them as well, but they don't know of any projects that they have done. It's more of putting you in contact with people as opposed to having to say, like, you very effectively build the car in the air and race it. Yeah.
So this is by no means bonding, but I guess like the best experience you can get as a mechanical engineer would be something like SAE or AIAA. As an electrical engineer would be something like either research or I can't think of a big robotics club. And then as a computer scientist, if you're interested in working at like a private firm, something where you're doing a lot of simulation, something where you know how to work your way around that stuff. Those are particular areas for different engineering fields that they're looking for.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Like last year, I interviewed for IBM and I was like not very far into my sophomore year, so I really didn't have that much technical knowledge except just like the basic math and physics classes you take as a freshman. So a lot of their questions were kind of aimed toward like I'm in AIAA, and a lot of that was like kind of tailored toward like asking like, what I did, how I like solve problems, trying to get like a feel for how you solve problems. And the way you can easily show that is by being a member of one of those extracurricular activities.
More questions?
Yeah, like Keenan and Christina already answered this question. I want to hear another opinions. I'm an international student, and like most of you worked in national laboratories, which actually like allow you to do internships only for United States citizens. And like in your experience, guys, did you like work with any international students?
No.
I say my department is like 90% international.
So SpaceX is under the International Traffic in Arms Regulation sort of thing, because their technology is essentially the same technology in ballistic missiles. So 99.5% of the company is American.
Yeah.
Sorry.
International with non-American passports weren't allowed in my building. So yeah, it's called ITAR.
Can you take pictures?
Yeah, no, you can't take. There's a huge drama with like people playing Pokemon Go in my building.
Yeah.
Big deal, but yeah. So it can be. I know they've exist. I know they have been international interns. You just need to be like disclose that obviously right away, because there are definitely areas. For example, science is a big area where data is shared. So engineering-based things, at least in my experience, are pretty proprietary, but because science is shared with institutions and it's especially at NASA, it's more of a global thing. There's usually more opportunities.
Yeah, working at Lockheed, like a defense contractor, you have to get a security clearance, and then like you can't bring your phones. You have to leave your phones in like lockers outside the building. I'm pretty sure you're also not like allowed to have contact with foreign nationals. And it's like you have to go through a really strict security process clearance and like list every time you've been out of the country for the past 10 years and like what you were doing, where you were, like people that verified you were in the places you were at this certain time. But anyway, but I think a lot of these companies that are like larger, that aren't like private or that aren't like public, have branches in other places. Like Lockheed, I know, Boeing, they're like international companies. You know what I mean? So it's possible to look into that depending on where you're from.
Yeah. Essentially anything related to the military, if there's like a flip in the military, you're out of luck. But like Boeing commercial, like for example, they'll take you. Or maybe IBM will take you as places essentially where they do science as opposed to like anything that can be used in military engineering, that's fine. That's what we got there in mind.
Yeah, like what I told you before, but in case someone's interested, I think of all the NASA centers, JPL is the most welcoming one of foreign nationals, definitely. And my experience, I was in the robotics section, and I've met a lot of international students, most of them from Italy. Most of them were grad students. So I think the way with grad students, they also find a lab for which they can do their PhD research in, and they're hired and paid like normal students. They have some limitations as to they can't enter some buildings without being accompanied, for example, by US citizens. So there's some weird regulations that don't really matter as much. And I'm not sure how it works for other graduate students. But, yeah.
So I'm a freshman, so
I was wondering, like, did you guys do anything this summer after your freshman year?
We should go down the line.
Oh, well, like, I thought like you guys.
You mean like
had,
professional things?
Yeah, no, like yeah, like in terms of like NASA, SpaceX.
I worked at Lockheed the summer after freshman year. That's when I started. But I was the only freshman like in my building, I think. But then this year there were more freshmen, so I was like, yay, you go. But yeah, it's definitely possible. I think it really depends on the place. But I think if you apply, like reach out to the recruiter and say, I know I'm a freshman, but I have these skills that I could bring to the table, and like here's why I'd be able to do a good job and contribute to what you're doing. There's also a lot of companies, depends on your major, but have programs specifically for freshmen. It depends if you're more into like tech, but like I know Google, Microsoft, places like that have programs like for freshmen, so that's something to look into.
Yeah, so
Just go down the line. Yeah, sure. Down the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, sorry.
that was freshman year summer. I was at the Applied Physics Lab. They're kind of like JPL on the East Coast. It's definitely doable. I think it's all about tenacity. Just get out a lot of applications, contact people. Freshman year, they'd probably be looking for some sort of experience because you haven't gotten too far into your classes yet. So you really have to show something with experience. Like projects are always really good. Research is great. Joining a project team, like Neil was saying, that's always really good to have in your resume.
I also think high school can still be relevant when you're a freshman. So if you did something really cool in high school, I think you can still have that.
First robotics also.
Yeah, if you did first robotics or anything.
So my freshman summer, I was in General Atomics, a space company in San Diego, and it was like not really like a science role. It was more like a finance my role wasn't like too technical. You can't find things that are like very technical as freshmen because you don't have those kind of skills. So you should probably like try to find something that's more like finance or businessy that you don't need those like hardcore like engineering courses yet, or those like computer science courses. More things like either like in like a like business role, like manufacturing, that could be like sort of more useful for a like future internship, and also you don't need those like introductory skills as far as like hardcore CAD or like any kind of real like CS stuff. So.
I'm gonna like push back on that if you're a freshman, you need to do some sort of business thing. I think it depends on like what you're interested in, but like I went into my internship and I didn't have that much experience, and then they kind of trained me when I was there, and I would meet with my mentor frequently and then explain what I needed to do. So I would say don't, just because you're a freshman, if they're giving you an interview, it's because they're interested in you, you know what I mean? And in fact, like if they're accepting applications from freshmen, it's because they want you to work there. So like don't get discouraged, and I definitely think you can do something technical. And even if it's like tailored down, or if it's like tailored down to your skill set, you know what I mean? I think you're still able, like even though I was a freshman and I was the only freshman there, I felt like I was still able to have a real contribution, make a difference. So yeah.
Okay, I worked at the mayor's office in the city of Chicago, and it was sort of this weird thing where I contacted the guy who was running the program. He was a professor, and I was learning some econometrics on the fly, and I helped him with his research. So it was more in a research sort of role, and I know it's pretty common for students after freshman year to look for positions in labs around campus and across the country, and I think professors are very willing to do that.
Oh yeah, I agree. After freshman year, I had like a number of odd jobs. Definitely not something professional, but highly recommend a freshman if you're looking for like just like a nice summer internship or program is to do research, especially on campus. So like starting, I'd say like early March, even late February, start contacting certain professors you're interested in within your department that you're planning on majoring in. If you're looking for maybe a bit easier of a way to do something professional-esque over the summer.
So here's my viewpoint on this, and this is kind of my personal take on it. The company wants to take you for an internship so that they can hire you. And they're only going to take you for the internship if they think you're qualified. So as a freshman, it's just a fact you really don't have those skills yet. That's not like a bad thing, it's just you will get there eventually. That's what you have to bear in mind. So as freshman year, I think the best approach is develop a relationship with recruiters, like apply anyway, help them get it, but then start making forays like into that area. So find an internship that's a springboard for you to the next summer, because you're not going to start like at SpaceX or maybe not Lockheed or I don't know, like you got whatever. So like you're not going to start at SpaceX though as a freshman. There are no freshmen there because there's not going to take you because they mainly take like I was one of very few sophomores. They mainly take like master's students or juniors who they know they can hire the next summer. So they just want to feed you to that pipeline and then whatever. So as a freshman, the best thing you can do is like do something that shows interest and you can build off of for the next summer. I worked at so my own personal history. Like before going to this summer, I worked at a composites. I knew I wanted to go to aerospace, so I worked at a composite supplier. It's called RBC International. They make like aluminum honeycomb and carbon fiber and that kind of stuff that goes into the planes. They don't do any engineering work. They just kind of make all the supply stuff. So it was definitely on the business finances side, but it gives you a good step into the aerospace world. It gives you a good sense of like the business of the aerospace world, and it shows it demonstrates interest. Like again, like I said, you can build off of and springboard on them because as a freshman, it's hard to land these positions, so you've got to kind of lay a good foundation before you can actually build something off of.
I started working at JPL in high school. But I did have prior like aerospace experience. I sent like in my junior year of high school, I sent a payload to the International Space Station. So like I had that prior experience, but it's also my feeling is like, you might as well go for it. And I think there's so many skills that you can learn just from doing the internship over the summer. But if not, research is a great opportunity. Actually, I stayed my first summer. I stayed doing research because it's part of the requirements for my fellowship. But if you can get funding, you can stay on campus, and I worked up at the medical center, and it's a really great way to get a professor or someone who is, because in your first year classes, a lot of them are big lectures, and you don't get a formal relationship. And if you're able to form a relationship with a professor or someone who, is held in high esteem, that's really important, not just for trying to get internships, but going to grad school and anything else where it's great to have someone that can vouch for you.
Well, I worked as a fashion boutique on figure skating my first summer, so I didn't do anything technical. I was still a figure skater. At the same time, for example, like you said, there's lots of people who work in high school as a freshman at NASA centers. Even there's my friend Simon in the back who was working on some GPO, and he has just finished freshman year. He won't say anything, he's free to add something or not. But yeah, like I see internships as a way to get experience for the next step as well.
Yeah. And for me, I think but basically I think when I was a freshman, it was more for me to get experience, but I think the pipeline thing that Vinay was talking about definitely exists, especially if you're working at a defense company, because they have to spend a lot of money on you to give you a security clearance, like it costs like thousands of dollars to get you kind of in the door. And because they're kind of investing that much money in you, I honestly felt kind of a lot of pressure to like go back and like keep working there, you know what I mean? Because of that. So I think although freshman year I think it's more geared to our experience, you are kind of entering the pipeline early. That makes sense.
I was wondering, is there what's the difference, like for example, culturally between working for NASA as opposed to a private aerospace company, such as SpaceX or Boeing?
I would take the NASA side first.
So I've worked at both. NASA is more relaxed culture. There's more of an expectation for interns in private industry, I think. Danae probably has some comments on that from the SpaceX side.
I heard that JPL did work Fridays, is that right?
It's not hard now.
That's not a thing yet. That's not
I have to work Fridays.
It was a 90, so we also work like
You work 9 hours a day.
Okay.
But
You do that a lot.
I mean, for me, like my internship this summer ended up being like I did not get Fridays off. I worked through a lot of weekends. I worked a lot of 12-hour days because of the nature of the project I was working on. I was working on a proposal, which is like a lot of work. It's basically like this 1,200-page document in which you explain every single detail about your spacecraft. So I definitely on my end, NASA was not that relaxed. I definitely sacrificed a lot of weekends. I ended up working a lot of third shift, which is a funding for the shift that runs from midnight to 8 a.m. if you're like we're doing experiments with our spacecraft. So yeah, I think like definitely there are places in NASA where you have that high pressure culture, and if that's something that you want more out of an internship.
Yeah. So private versus government. Private is more of it's profit motivated. That was the biggest difference for me. Everything's about making money for your shareholders, or in the case of SpaceX for Elon Musk. At NASA, there's more of an educational field because all of the internships are funded from the education office, so it's a lot about mentoring, that kind of thing. And in industry, you may or may not be able to build that mentor relationship. Sometimes, in my experience, you have to kind of work for it. If you do work for it, you can get a lot of experienced, knowledgeable people, but it's not as built into the program, at least in that boat.
This is random, this about private companies. But there's especially working at a defense contractor like Boeing, Lockheed, a lot of the stuff revolves around government contracts, and the government contracts them to work on certain products. So I was working on this project for the beginning of the summer for like 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, like, my team lead got in an argument with the finance person, I don't really know, and then it just stopped. Like, the funding got cut off, and I couldn't charge my time to it anymore, so I wasn't allowed to work on it. So it was kind of discouraging because all of the kind of hard work that I had into doing this just kind of ceased. But then I ended up training another intern to work on a similar project and ended up being fine. It came back on by the end of the summer, by the time it was time to leave. But I think that's something that's important in private industries is like, as Keenan was saying, it's very motivated by like profit and the customer and kind of meeting deadlines for that, where I'm assuming the government would be more kind of it's like self-serving, I think.
Yeah, I would say at IBM, I think the environment is like really weird. Like on one end, it's like very fast-paced, kind of like a financing field. Like you'll work like 50, 55, 60-hour weeks. But at the same time, they're like trying to like Googlify all their offices. They put in like a zip line and like football machines and like Wii U. So that was cool. But at the same time, like it's also very like buttoned up, kind of like very like kind of like putting your mouth in a fire hose kind of feel. It's like maybe not as what. But they put you in there. Like trying to shoot water out of a fire. Oh,
yeah, so that's the MIT thing. That's an MIT trope.
I mean, I don't know if saying profit is the nicest way to put it. It's definitely focused on the consumer, right? So, working in a private industry, every single decision you make is like, how is the customer going to be impacted by this, and how is this driving our company forward? Right? So there's that behind that motivation behind decisions, so that sort of impacts them. So.
Oh, if I can say something. So, my idealized version of NASA, and like this is what I get from seeing like The Martian and just kind of whatever, is like it's an awesome place where you like you do science and like you do it for intellectual pursuits, and it's like really cool and awesome. And just talking to Christina, it seems like a place like this is awesome. Like yeah, but from the private industry, like the way they view it, which might be a little demeaning, is like NASA's a place where you go to retire almost. It's like a little more laid back, a little still doing work, but just like at a slow pace. Specifically at space, I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way. I really like much more. That's just like what I alright. What I actually know, now it's just like
no, yeah, you.
I disagree slightly.
Okay.
I disagree slightly about the slowing down, just because it really depends. I mean, I was like, my project was a lot of, like, all my bosses would be working full weekends.
Yeah.
I agree with you that the bosses, all of the full-time hires work full weekends, overtimes, they work all the way through night, only master this hire. And I also feel like in some interns, again, it's easier, in some interns also like, I don't come in on earlier Fridays to finish my project as well. So like, it depends.
Yeah, see, that I'm not speaking from experience at all there, so like, that's why I take them as well. Or can speak about
I was saying incentive exists because NASA has a lot of money given to the government, and you need that money to do what they do. But from like a private standpoint, holy crap, I do so much better.
Exactly. There's always in the industry, there's always that kind of critique of public sector that they're inefficient, slow, whatever. But I don't think that's actually that true.
And as you can guess, that's the critiques of like SpaceX is like haphazard, doesn't think.
Yeah, we don't people.
So yeah, of course.
Anyway, so what I can actually talk about though, experience of is the SpaceX culture. And the SpaceX culture works something like this. There's no really work-life balance, there's just work. Yeah, so like for the full-time employees, so like, okay, so as a full-time employee, you'll do like work that you wouldn't be able to do at any other company. You'll be on the team doing the coolest work, doing like at a higher level than you might be able to do at any other kind of bigger company, even in any other bigger private aerospace company. But the trade-off with that is that there's, like I said, it's almost all work. And it's not like they pay you very well, they actually pay you like 15% below the industry standard. So the reason you're doing this is because you're getting great experience and because the mission is really important to the guys, especially to the guys who manage to make it more than 5 years, who like, you know, just don't want to just use it as a whatever on the resume and make a springboard to another job. Like, people will actually work hard for the Mars mission. Like, people talk about that in concrete terms and want to do that. The culture is that. Like, you'll see people actually wearing company gear because because it's super cheap, but two, because like, they actually want to wear it. So I think it depends where in private industry you go. If you go to a big corporation where you're working on a minute little project and like you've got tons of layers of abstraction between you and the end product, then yeah, it's just going to be about like, okay, getting your hours in or profit or customer or something like that. But if you go to maybe a smaller, and we're only talking about like big aerospace companies at this point. There's like aerospace startups, like small drone companies, small whatever aerospace companies. If you go to one of those places, it's not like that. It's still a lot of work, but you're actually doing it for a different reason. Yeah, I'm just talking about. Anyway, that's my thing. Like, be prepared to work a lot, like 60-hour weeks or so, but you'll get paid overtime. So that's fine.
I have a lot of pros and cons between each industry. In the like you don't get a like pension in the private industry now, and like have a lot of different things that are terrible in one and good in the other. So you can't really go wrong. It's more just like you're there for a goal and something.
Skills we all need about.
She's been raising her hand. So I'm actually an astronomy and number major, so it's not like I have that much technical skill or that much computer science skill. So I'm going to decide for both private and kind of government industry. Is there any direction to go other than research and business, or would you give, given my background, would that be business more like the way I should go?
I would say like you should just follow whatever you're interested in. And I would say especially like if you're looking, I think you mentioned like you don't have as much computer science skills, there's a lot of different ways you can get involved with that, just from like doing your own projects or joining groups like AIAA, things on campus. So I think for computer science it's really valuable to get experience outside of class. And I would say don't like limit yourself. Like the guy I sat next to was an econ math major and had worked there for like 3 years and was going back full time. So really, I think if you're able to apply the skills that you have to what you're working on, also I think it really depends on the company, because some people, they'll see you're not a mechanical engineering major and might not let your resume get to the next step, you know what I mean? But I think if you can explain a compelling reason why what you have studied is relevant to whatever you're going to be working on, and how you can kind of transfer those skills and leverage what you know.
I might be speaking as the person who has the majors that are viewed as the most relevant. I'm a double major in biological sciences and film studies. So, like, you see that at the top of my resume, and I'm like, okay, what? But like, so, and for me, it's like, I seek opportunities that are not necessarily like just within my majors. And I also obviously I did the research I did in high school, which really helped propel me towards like more of the aerospace area. But I think it's also knowing how to pitch your skills. So a lot of my work this summer working on a proposal, you're basically trying to convince like NASA HQ to give you, in our case it was about $250 million. And so what it requires, which is actually cheap for a spacecraft. In my case, I think my skills in my double major really come from my ability to, I have a highly, scientific background as well as like a creative and storytelling background, and so being able to take this really complicated technical information and make it a coherent, cohesive story that can be convincing why this spacecraft. So if you know how to pitch your skills toward a job, I think that's really, really important. Because you're probably gaining skills in those majors that are really relevant to tons of things that are going on.
Let's go.
Yeah, for those of you who were given technical questions on your interviews, like what kind of things did they ask you? Like were they asking you the shear stress on like this block or something? I don't know. What did they ask you?
So I've had 1 or 2 technical interviews. The ones I had weren't nearly as hard as like a coding interview. You get your tech. They were more seeing your train of thought, like how you approach problems, that kind of thing. That said, there are some companies that will give you very, very technical questions. It kind of varies by major. Could anyone else speak to that? Very technical.
Yeah, sure. So what I was doing was like pretty heavy in CS and EE, and I'm like my only EE knowledge is physics too. So I really kind of winged it in the tech interview. But a lot of it was CS based. So like I'm using data structures, but they'll ask you like kind of like to formulate pseudocode over the phone, based like, oh, what's the most efficient way to find like the most outputted string in like a document of text? Just like how do you approach the problem? Like, what's your thought process? And they ask like, oh, just like spill your thoughts out, and they just kind of want to figure out how you solve problems. And then there was just some math questions as well.
Yeah, 2 words for CS data structures.
Yeah.
You know, all your they got the back in the coding interview.
Also, I think if you have something on your resume, be ready to talk about it. If you say, oh, I know C really well, and they ask you a C question, you can't answer it, then that's going to be worse than if you didn't have that on your resume in the first place.
Yeah, definitely don't bullshit the resume. Okay?
Yeah, they don't feel. They don't know.
What resources inside and outside of Columbia are used to find your internship positions?
So I think CCE is great. I actually did the startup internship program my freshman year. Worked at a startup downtown that was doing venture capital analysis, and it was a really rewarding experience. But I think if I hadn't met with my CCE advisor, coming in as a freshman, hey, what are opportunities that are available to me? I wouldn't have known about that. So I really recommend that program. But I think CCE is great. Also, once you declare your major in C's, you get a department advisor. That's someone in your engineering department who's a faculty member, and I think they can be a great resource. And just other professors or faculty members also just reach out to people that you know that have worked at these places and be like, hey, do you know the recruiter that works here? Or how about we get coffee and talk about your experience? I think that can be really helpful, and then they can help you get your foot in the door while you're applying.
Yeah, I heard from someone else who did the same internship, and so they've been advising us through the process.
So your question was resources at Columbia just in general? Okay, so Columbia, I'm speaking from the terms of mechanical engineering. You have Boeing, SpaceX, and ballistic missile defense agency, missile defense agency coming to the career fair. Those are the only 3 aerospace companies this year. In the past, we've had Pratt & Whitney and United Technologies. They're more like propulsion systems. That's about all you're going to get from CCE in terms of aerospace. It's really cool that we have SpaceX coming this year because they've never come here before. Otherwise, you're going to have to do a lot of legwork yourself. So NASA, OSSI, really great way to apply to a lot of internships at once.
All those flyers in the back, it's definitely one of those.
Yeah, grab one of those. There are lists published online. Other schools will sometimes publish lists of aerospace companies you can apply to with links. Google is your friend. And if you know anyone, you have a friend or some acquaintance or something that can get your foot in the door at one of these companies, that is usually the best way to approach it.
Are y'all on LinkedIn yet?
No,
literally, I went to CC and asked, hey, can you approach someone? Because I know that there are probably people at SpaceX, but hey, can you actually do that? And they just won't do it. They won't really give you that info, so they recommended that I go via LinkedIn and look up like who I know, like second degree connections or something. So get a LinkedIn, use your network. If you know someone who knows someone, like that's how I got my referral, like which got my resume to the top of the stack. Like I knew someone from like a Thanksgiving dinner who like knew someone who worked there, and like that's how I got my referral. So yeah, leverage the shit out of your connections.
Or as well, you can also have low connections and just like
Or-
be very persistent in applying.
Just be like a genius.
Or
Escape the
that
line.
third version.
Yeah. Also, maybe if you like are interested in a certain company and you go on LionShare or Handshake now and you type in the thing and it doesn't show up, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist because LionShare is kind of lacking in certain areas. So be sure to go on their website and look up certain available positions.
More questions? I think we might be wrapping up fairly soon, but we've got time for maybe one or two more.
I was just wondering, for your applications, did you also have to write any essays or cover letters? And if so, would you recommend like talking about your passion for space, or is that very cliche and you shouldn't include that?
Yeah, so you have about 3 essays for NASA, and you basically talk about the like why space and why you kind of fit in with that goal. And so like you were very much talking about why you love space. Like my whole story was about when I was like, a little kid and going to the observatories and stuff. So you can be as cheesy as you possibly want, and they like apparently enjoy that. So.
For computer science, you really don't need that kind of It's resume, projects, coding, interviews, do all those.
Yeah, so, well, maybe for different comp sci jobs, you definitely want to show your passion for comp sci because there were 3 essays. There was just a cover letter and a submitted for IBM at least. And yeah, they were like, show us your interview. Yeah, I'm interested because like no matter how like intelligent you are or how much knowledge you learn in school, like it's very like specific maybe the kinds of projects you'll be doing at the company. So they don't expect you to like know the specific information, but they want to know that you're like excited to learn the information. So I guess that's why they put it on there.
Yeah, just sort of specifically in the context of SpaceX, is a resume and a cover letter. So the way kind of my mind works is resumes where you show what you can do, cover letters where you show how much you want to work there, and passion and all that stuff. Like if you got a super good resume but a pretty bad cover letter, you'll probably get an interview. If you got a super good cover letter and kind of bad resume, you might still get an interview. If you got great both, you'll probably get an interview. Maybe. I don't know, like maybe not. If you got like bad both, then you just so like that's wrong. No. So what I mean about that is that like it's really just like once you like one of those things will just get you like into your foot into the door, but it won't get you past the next series and then interviews. So yeah, I'd say like again for SpaceX, like they're trying to hire you, so like having that really great project experience and then showing that like yeah, I'm willing to work for you like super long hours, really bad pay for like a long time, they'll be like cool interview. So
yeah, don't be modest too. Like
yeah, don't be modest.
Do not be like sound. You can use it not arrogant, but like bring yourself out more.
Accurately represent what you've done.
Yeah.
You know. It's been a while since I applied to JPL. So I don't know. I don't remember writing an essay. But I can tell you that they love space cheesiness. Like. Basically, one of the big purposes of the JPL internship is also to basically like start to recruit people for full-time positions because they understand that most of the really intelligent people that are going to work at places like JPL could very easily make a ton of money elsewhere, especially if you're in something like computer science. So one of their big purposes in the internship is to seduce you with the noble mission of NASA. And so if you make it clear that you're, and obviously if it's not true, then that's a separate issue, but they really appreciate people that are passionate about what NASA does and are not necessarily the type of people that would kind of go on to, or would abandon that passion for more lucrative things.
Yeah, so good. My application was just a resume and an email to my mentor. And the email, which was served as my cover letter, and it should not be too long, longer than 2 paragraphs, because afterwards I find out that every full-time employee there gets about 200 emails per day. So they're not going to read it if it's too long. But at the same time, everyone is expressing their passion for space. So if you don't, that puts you at a disadvantage immediately, just by definition. And also, like she said, they're really looking for people who are like really take the extra step because they like space, which they wouldn't matter because they have just technical abilities.
So cover letters as a whole, their importance varies by industry and even in industries. My general rules, I don't include it unless it's specifically asked for, in which case definitely put it in there as I want it. Essays for NASA, they're very important. My mentor even told me that he put emphasis on reading your application essay for NASA, so don't blow that off. And your resume, just put keywords in it, because you're just trying to get past the HR filter. They're going to Control F, they're going to put in like SolidWorks, and if they get a bunch of resumes with SolidWorks and load it out. So make sure you have keywords in there. It's well formatted and all that stuff, but keywords are actually very, very important. So you can get past the filter to an actual person that'll read your resume.
We have time for about one more question if anybody wants to finish us off. If there's no other questions, you can maybe finish off if anyone has any interesting stories from your internships. That's giving great advice, but what is it actually like?
Well, I'd say nothing like my classes.
I had a ton of fun. Just the stuff that you get to do on a daily basis. Like, we would have virtual meetings on Mars sometimes. Like, that was a thing. And you'd all strap on your little headsets. They were like, what's the Microsoft HoloLens? So you would be like on Mars, and they'd be like, all right, let's go look at that rock. And you're like with all these people, and you all like hike over, and you'd be like, oh yeah, this was a good rock. It's just stuff like that where and I got to go to, it was really exciting. So my boss was in charge at Juno. And so I got to go to the Juno orbital entry VIP event, and I saw Bill Nye there, which to me was truly incredible. But especially a place like NASA, especially a place like JPL, I think you would agree it can be almost overwhelming.
Overwhelmingly fun as well.
Yeah, the amount of stuff that people do there on a daily basis that is, just extraordinary.
Sorry. Okay. I want to keep you guys. One of the cool things about aerospace is there's a lot of history. So at NASA, my boss one day was like, hey, interns, come over here. We're going to take you to this garage. He opens up this garage door. And inside is one of the lunar landing research vehicles. So flying bed stands that used to fly around practice landing on the moon. And also the one that almost killed Neil Armstrong. But they had just one of these things sitting in a random garage at NASA. It's what is this doing here? This should be in a museum. I don't know why it's there. One day, that center was on Edwards Air Force Base, which is up here for flight research and all that kind of stuff. So it's just random old plane husks scattered around. We're driving by on the road. There's an X-15 husk just sitting there. X-15 was this really cool high altitude rocket plane from 1950s, 60s. So all kinds of cool stuff like that. Depending on where you work, how long it's been established, you may see all kinds of new things.
And just to add one last thing, you also see really cool people. For example, at my lab where I was working, we just had a person who kept showing up to all the meetings, he was critiqued, and at some point someone asked him what he was doing at JPL, and his answer was, he's been there for 40 years, and he was the main systems engineer for Voyager 1, which was pretty cool to work with a person who sent Voyager to space.
I guess it's not as, take this at your own warning, but at the end of the day, everything becomes a job. So it'll be cool for a while, and then I know. This is what I'm saying. No, there's a cause and ending. So that's what I'm saying. Make sure you like what you're doing and you enjoy it, because again, at the end of the day, it becomes a place where you go for 8 hours. You don't get to walk around like it's college. So just enjoy.
I would say JPL is
you get to walk
around. Yeah, you walk around, and there's a reason people stay there for 40 years. can like walk around and kind of.
There's a reason there's a 12% attrition rate at SpaceX.
There's also like these deer that walk in GPL buildings everywhere.
I almost missed like at least 3 deer leaving at like 11:30 at night. So that was a cool part of my summer. Avoided death.
All right. Well, thank all of the panelists.